Are there any drummers in the house?
I play percussion. That's because you couldn't play anything else.
Shut up. Come here, dude.
Hey, man. Did you touch my drum set? I am warning you right now, if you touch my drum, I will stab you in the neck with a knife. Not quite my tempo. It's all good. No worries. Here we go.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Drumheads Podcast. My name is Daniel, and this is the end of year wrap-up episode. Thank you, whatever you want to call it. 2017 is almost done and in the books. What? I know, it's, every time it's just so ridiculous, but it's awesome. So, yeah, I just wanted to take some time and thank some people who help out the podcast, thank the guests, and thank people who also sponsored and sent products for us to review and feature and all that fun stuff. So, 2017 was a fun year for the podcast. Had some incredible guests on, for sure. Some people I'm like, oh, wow, I never thought in a million years this person would say yes. And I should be almost not surprised sometimes when you just reach out to people and say, hey, I'm a fan, and I'd like to have you on my podcast. That 9 out of 10 times they're going to say yes. So maybe you should just kind of just believe in myself, I guess I could say. Yeah. There was a little bit of a lull in September because of the computer crashing out on us, but luckily it is revived. So just want to thank, we'll just run down the list. Andrew from 5 Iron Frenzy, Art from Destroyed Drum, Vijay, I can't remember how you pronounce that, sorry, from Magic Room brand, which makes drumsticks and picks. Destroyed Drum, is a fashion drum company that, they offer shirts, hats, beanies, all kinds of cool stuff, and it's very, eclectic. It's not like your standard affair of just boring, kind of just drumsticks, this is cool, kind of stuff. So, Eric from Aztec Cymbals, Melanie De Lorenzo, Saraz Handpans. Probably my favorite podcast I've done this year. I'm just saying, that was just such a fun episode. I wanted to share the backstory with it. I don't know if I told the complete backstory, but they had reached Instagram. You know how you get on there, you search, and you'll kind of see things that are related to drums and whatnot. And I saw someone playing handpans, but a picture came up that Mark had put up from Saraz. I'm like, wow, that looks vaguely familiar. It looks like here. And I clicked on the picture, and I'm like, oh, it is here. And then, I figured out, oh, they're in my town, and Mark lives, 5 minutes from my house, which was, crazy. So, reached out to him, hey, I'd love to have on the podcast. I became familiar with handpans from the previous percussion festival, the Asheville Percussion Festival I went to last year. They were part of it, and, I saw that instrument. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And so it was a good chance for me to learn something completely different that was outside of my wheelhouse. We had set it up. I think we had set it up in December. We were going to do it in February. So everything was a go. Everything was good. I'm like, I'm not on call. I don't have to worry about being, called out to middle of nowhere, blah, blah, blah. So the day of, literally the day of, I have got everything ready. I've got the recording gear in my bag. And I get a call from my boss, and he's like, hey, blah, 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 he just quit. I'm like, and? Well, you're going to be on call. Okay, can't somebody else do it? They're like, no, it's got to be you, because there's nobody left. Everyone, on this particular side of the company has all quit at the same time. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. I'm like, but I'm going to record this podcast. I've been planning. I don't want to tell them no. And they're like, okay, that's fine. They're like, do your podcast thing, because they know. And they're like, but just do this. You got to go somewhere for work afterwards. I'm like, okay, whatever. So, do the podcast. We talked, we hung out. And then I didn't realize how far away I was going. It was 3 hours away, one way. And I'm like, oh, crap. So, but it was just I just, I'm like, look, I'm going to do this podcast. And it was so fun and, made some new friends out of it. We hung out a couple more times throughout the year. So that's why I like that podcast in particular, was making a new friendship. That's what's always fun. Ricardo Ramirez, and he was kind enough to do an Instagram takeover for NAMM. Sadly, I will not be going just because the baby is here, and I don't want to he'll be a month old when NAMM is happening, and I don't want to put a lot of stress on my wife dealing with the other 3 kids plus the baby. And yeah, so I'm like, we're just going to take a hiatus. So I might see if Ricardo is going, that he'll help out. Daniela Breeze, first Australian guest, which is super fun to have on. And yeah, that was a fun one. Crush Drums. Now that was a fun one because I reached out to him. I've always been a fan. I love their acrylic drum set. It's just looks awesome. And so they're like, yeah, let's do it. And I hadn't had Adam on. I haven't had Adam on a lot lately, working on it. And I'm like, dude, you've got to be on. I'm having the 2 guys, that are, the founders of Crush Drums on. You're a Crush Drum user. He's like, yeah, dude, let's do it. So it was great to have on Adam and kind of just nerd out about Crush Drums. Drum Flip with Ed O'Connell. Luckily, Ed was also kind enough to sponsor the podcast for a couple of months. Really appreciate that. Chris Hornbrook, which is one, it was like, wow, why have I not asked this dude? We followed each other for a while, and, it worked out. Love Custom Drums with Buddy Love, which was great. It's great to talk to Buddy, just super chill guy. Frank Zuma from Sub 31. What? Yes, I know. I'm like, really? Frank wants to be on the podcast? He's a big deal, and it was fun because he was in, I believe, Finland, in Helsinki, Finland. And so he, we'd had to figure out like the time differences. Like I woke up, it was like, 8:30 here, and he's over there, and it's like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon there. So it was fun to like, I'm like, hey, yeah, dude, what's up? Yeah, I'm just kind of waking up, wake up. So that was fun. And then Mason VPT, which is also, Mason is like our, his title's changing all the time because I don't know what to call him. I think I'm going to start calling him like our social media and, not czar, that sounds bad. I don't know. Mason has just been a great help to this podcast and to the show and everything. Really stepped up, and I love the fact that I can just like, kind of give a general idea of like what I'd like Mason to help me with, and he like does it. He reaches out to companies, he'll reach out to drummers, about being on the podcast and having stuff featured and all that, logistical stuff. And I like that. I like that, we're both on the same kind of like wavelength, like we both think the same way. And because I had someone come in, work for a little bit on the side, before Mason, and I should have chose Mason over this other guy. I just, for some reason, I don't know why. But then I had Mason on the podcast, then we got to talk. I'm like, okay, this is the guy. So Mason's been just a tremendous help. So thank you, Mason, for all your stuff. He just got a house today. It was so funny. I just texted him. I was at work. I'm like, hey, how's the house thing going? I know there was a couple of hiccups, and he's like, oh, we're about to sign in 20 minutes. I'm like, word, that's awesome. So yeah, and then we had Frank from Regal Tip Drumsticks on, which has also been a sponsor of the podcast. Have donated some sticks to give away. So awesome, so awesome. For Regal Tip is there's been so kind to us, and I love it. Christina Sanico. Oh, I think I said it right. I was like about to say it. I'm like, I'm gonna screw this up, and I'm like, nope, I got it. Fantastic YouTube drummer. Reached out to her. I'm like, hey, I'd love to have you on the podcast. And she's like, sure. And then this one. All right, Bradican from Dispatch. Whew, that was fun. That's one of my drumming heroes. Like right now, I'm going through like this little series on Instagram of my drumming influences, and I just put up part 1. Which I'm calling the roots. This is how the drummers that I identified with when I started first really getting into playing drums and drum set and all that stuff. And I'm going to start part 2, which I'm going to call the trunk. This is like the base of, the roots of what started me. And the trunk is like, not the finished product, but it's like a big chunk of me that's, that's defined me as a drummer, and Brad Acun is one of those, and I'm like, oh, I can't believe he said yes. So definitely nerded out there. Visionary Drum, that was a fun one. If you've not seen it, you've seen it on my drums. Some of them, I got some heads up right now. There's skins you put on your drum heads to add a little, pizzazz, a little flair, a little, mwah to it. It gives it a little aesthetically pleasing look to your drum, because you look at your drum heads and they're just heads, they're white, black, frosted, coated, whatever, blue, red sometimes, if you got those hydraulic heads, but nothing, other than just it's got designs, and it's all like, you kind of just get like, whoa, man, this is like so trippy. If you were like high, you'd get like lost in it for days. So that was cool. River Garyun, it was great to have River back on. This is the second time. He is the creator of the Asheville Percussion Festival, and he was kind enough to have me back to his studios. We, talked about some different hand drumming, techniques and drums and whatnot. It was cool enough to, feature him, I think he played like 10 different, various hand percussion drums and whatnot, and it was super fun. Got to go to the concert, hung up with all those guys, did some of the classes, and I think in 2018 for the festival, I'm gonna get a booth. I'm gonna reach out to all my percussion and drum friends, be like, hey, I'm gonna set up a booth here. If you want to send some stuff and have your stuff, featured, just hit me up. We'll figure something out. If you want to sell some stuff, I'll sell it on your behalf. And I'm really looking forward to it. Something that I can do here in my hometown and be part of the community. So yeah, like I said, around August, it was in late July into August. The podcast was a little hiatus. That was when the things kind of fizzed out with the computer. I had it since 2009. I was amazed it made it that long, considering how many trips it's been on and whatnot. I mean, it's been literally around the world. So, but it was great when I came back into, having the computer working again. I had reached out, Seamus from Drum Gab reached out to me a long time ago. I want to say in the spring, early spring, late winter, maybe. He had some questions about starting a podcast, and he's, asking me what, service I use, which is Libsyn, and just, we were talking back and forth about, how you go about starting your own podcast. I'm like, yeah, I'd love to have you on sometime. And, things got crazy. I had several guests I had to cancel because of work. Work this year was the hardest for me, just because 2016, it sucked with my job. Horrible boss, horrible son of a boss, severe pay cut, and then luckily 2017 kind of turned it around just a little bit. It's better, but there was a lot of turnover because of the previous regime, as I called it, because she was like, Saddam on crack, firing everybody she saw on her path. So luckily she is gone. Good riddance. Oh God, that was like, I had no idea. I actually had gone on like a little trip, and I got back, and everyone, I had for a little bit, I was a little depressed, like, this place, I gotta come in this dump again. So it was a couple of days, and everyone's like, gosh, Daniel Stills, like, why is he like in a, that mood, and someone's like, shouldn't you be happy? I'm like, happy about what? They're like, you didn't hear? I'm like, hear what? Like, Tina, they fired her. I'm like, what? Huh? I was so excited. I literally started dancing. Like, I was that excited because, I was this close to, like, getting fired, because she just did not like me. And so, so I had to pick up a lot of slack with, people that she had fired, and because she was there up until April, I think. So April, those months were really stressful. I was having to cancel a lot of podcasts because I was having to work unexpectedly. So Seamus had got lost in the shuffle of everything, and I'm like, dude, I think you'd be the perfect person to have on when I get back up and running, because you're a podcaster, you're a drummer like myself, we're not like, big time, like, woo, kind of people. You got a family, you're trying to balance work, podcasting, family life, being a husband, all that. So I'm like, I think you'd be the perfect person to have on. For me, I need someone to be comfortable with. And I feel like if it was a drummer or someone I'm not really familiar with, I don't know if I would lose my place, the conversation would lag. And so him being a podcaster, it kind of felt like just I could be myself and feel more a natural flow of what's going on. So it was great to have Seamus on to, like, ease me back into it. So, and then Karen Rejuno, I'm saying that right, Karen. This was such a funny podcast, how it came out. I had a guest on. Well, they hadn't even been on. They obviously did not know what a podcast was. I was trying to help out somebody trying to get guests on to use their brand. And so I reached out to this guy, I'm like, hey, you could be on the podcast. I was kind of doing it, to help this guy. And the guy was like, yeah, let's do it. And then he's like, so do you like just send me the questions and I'll just answer them and then I'll send them back to you? I'm like, like, mean like in written form? Yeah. I'm like, no, this is like an interview. He's like, oh, so you just call me on the phone? I'm like, well, I gotta record it. I'm like, do you have Skype? And he's like, what's Skype? I'm like, okay, all right, hang on. Okay. I was like, can you download it to your phone? He's like, oh, I'm not good with technology. I'm like, all right, cool. All right. I kind of just like, all right, I can only jump over so many hurdles to get you to the point. And I'm like, I don't know this guy. I really don't want to, like, talk to him. I don't know if that's bad or not. Because, like, the people I have on, I genuinely want to talk to them. And I have a curiosity about their brand, their drumming, their, all that. So, I get a lot of emails from, like, people, just random people. And I'm like, ugh. I would love to. I have to know you, and I have to, like, be familiar with you and have some type of connection, because, yeah, it's just awkward. I don't want to talk to someone awkwardly about, I want to be genuinely interested in what you're doing. I don't know if that's just me being selfish, or it's just me. I don't know. It's a hard thing to explain, and I feel bad, but, it is my show, I guess, and I kind of want to, I want to have a certain level of excitement to talk to the people, rather than it just be like, that. So, if you know what that is. So, I'm like, all right, we'll figure this out later. And I'm like, all right, let's try this. Let's try an experiment. Let's do a live. It wasn't me. I was here. You guys can vouch for me. Gosh, this is an ambulance every night. I don't know who it is. Every night there's someone. I guess there's a retirement home down the road. Maybe there's a resident that they have to go see because they have like a fake heart attack. But it seems like every night, there they are. So I'm like, let's try an experiment. Let's do a live podcast / live stream on Instagram, and I'll take questions. And usually I get a ton of questions to do a live stream. Nobody was doing it. And there was a name that popped up that was, someone I had reached out to about being on the podcast. I'm like, So I saw that it was Karen. I'm like, oh. So I hopped off because I was kind of pissed that nobody was, like, indulging me in this experiment. So I reached her, I'm like, hey, I know this is short notice, but would you be interested in being on the podcast? She's like, yeah, let's do it. I'm like, awesome. So yeah, that was great. Talking to another drumming parent. I love parents. There are drummers who are parents because there's a total relatability, side to that. And then third and fourth drum, that was with Edwin, which was great because he reached out to me like, hey, I want to do something for, the Hurricane Irma. Gosh, there's so many hurricanes this year, I cannot remember. Harvey was in Houston. It might have been Irma. I can't remember which hurricane it was. But it was the one that hit, it was the Category 5 that hit Puerto Rico. And if you're a weather nut like me, you know that Category 5s are the worst of hurricanes. And it hit Puerto Rico dead on. And so Edwin got family from there. And he wanted to do a raffle. And it was kind of like, the stars had aligned and it was meant to be. And I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. I've been wanting to do something. I just didn't know how to do it, how to go about it. So he did a raffle. I think he raised, I want to say, a couple $1,000 in the raffle, and it went to the community that his family's from, to help them, rebuild and all that. And so I had him on to talk about the giveaway, but also just talk about his company and everything. So that was fun. Then I had Camellia from Beach Drum Shed. I'm looking at the podcast thing. This was fun because she had an idea. There was a drum off that was canceled this year from a big company. I'm not going to name names, Guitar Center. Anyways, and she's like, hey, I want to do like an Instagram exclusive like drum off. Hang on while I take a sip of water. Getting a little dried out. And so I had her on to talk about the drum off, talk about her background as a naval drum corps drummer. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. So she like traveled the world doing the drum corps for the Navy. So that was fun. And then episode 100, they gotta get the horn out for that, because it's just here's the horn. Where's the horn? It's dead time. So episode 100 was with Omari OJ Augustine. Yeah, we'd reached episode 100, and I wanted it to be Omari because we both got onto the Instagram thing at the same time back in, I want to say, late 2014 to the early 2015, and I had reached out to him about this time last year. I'm like, hey, I know I want to have you on the podcast, but I think I want to save your podcast episode for episode 100 because it's a milestone. And the Instagram community has been the biggest supporter of the podcast and everything. That's kind of like the central hub for everything that goes on with the show. It's based on Instagram. I'm going to start with YouTube here soon. But Omari just kills it on there. There's so many, who's playing drum set backwards? And who's like playing a shellless drum kit? Nobody. But this, the dude is just on it. So I really wanted to have him on for episode 100, and it was fun to have him on for sure. After that, why does it seem like I'm missing somebody? I want to say that there's a K-Break episode in there. Where is my available episodes? Such a professional. I know. Shaka. Did I have him later, or did I just totally skip him? Which is possible that my my podcast thing is just screwed up. Sorry. There was a K-Break. Sorry, Wes. He was after Seamus. So yes, Wes was back on to talk about all the cool stuff he's doing with K-Breaks, and great to talk to him. He had a hilarious story, which I've been trying to do on the podcast, is like a horrible gig story. So it was great to have Wes back on, because I had him back on super early on in the podcast. I want to say early 2016, late 2015. I think it was around Summer NAMM, so it might have been 2015. I think it was. So some time had passed, so it was fun to have him on. Next was Andy Butcher, a.k.a. the Drum Tamer. It was great to have on a drum tech. I had on Chris from Big Fat Snare Drum. He was drum teching on the side at the time, other than Big Fat Snare Drumming, but now he's pretty much Big Fat Snare Drumming all the time. So it was so having on Andy, talking about what it's like to be a drum tech, and the expectations, the things the things you think the things you don't know, and just talking about gear. And I'm gonna maybe try to work out a thing, maybe have him on a reoccurring basis and talking about drum gear, because he is a wealth of knowledge. And also we've started breaking up bonus episodes of the podcast, and his was we talked about Barton Drums, Mason, or social media Calciati. There we go. Oh, that's a perfect one. That's consigliere for you non-Italians, Calciati. And Barton Drums is going to be, coming on board and, maybe doing some giveaways and stuff like that. So really looking forward to working with them because they make some high-class drums. Next is Earl Talbot. Earl is a fantastic drummer out of Chicago. It was such a... We kind of just jumped into the conversation. It was very relaxed. I felt really, chill about it, And it was, almost therapeutic, I think, for both of us. And I haven't released his bonus ep yet. I'm going to release it here in the next day or two. I've just been crazy busy with baby stuff. So, Earl, do not fret. Your episode's coming. And the last episode I recorded with the guest is with Dan Kirby, a.k.a. DK Drums on Instagram. Fantastic Australian drummer from Melbourne. Second Aussie to appear on the podcast. Now I just got to get somebody from Africa and Asia. And I think I got all the continents. I don't know if there's any drummers in Antarctica. There's a good possibility. We'll see. I can see if there's some, hanging out down there. But those are the two continents I got to get. I've got South America. I've got North America. I've got Europe. And I just need Africa and Asia. So I'm pretty sure I can work on that out. That was all the guests. And, Dan was great. Just talking about just drum stuff. It's just fun talking about drums. I love drums. I don't have anybody. My wife, she knows a lot. She knows a lot to be a non-drummer because she hears me talk about it so much. But I don't have people at work. They're not drummers, so they don't care. I remember I had when Mike Martin sit in a snare drum for me to feature on the podcast. I'm going around showing everybody at work. They're like, "Oh, it looks nice, dude. This is a Predator percussion snare drum. This thing is off the hook." And they're like, "Yeah, it's pretty. I like the color." It's like, okay, yeah, whatever. So I just like talking drums, and so this is a good way for me to talk to people about it. I've had some non-drummers on here, but mostly it's been drummers, and I just love talking music as well. So, but yes, there's been a lot of people who have sent me stuff over this year. The aforementioned the great Mike Martin from Predator Percussion had sent over a snare drum to feature. Oh, sucker was sweet. Had a nice pop to it. Tasty. And then let's see who else. Chris sent me a prototype big fat snare drum. I don't know what it's called. I've been calling it the Borg because it's squared. That was fun. Regal Tip has sent a bunch of drumsticks for me to try out. Actually, I got to dig out a pair and take a picture with the baby. So who else? Let's see. Drum Cubes had just sent me that. That's my newest thing to feature. I haven't had a chance to really try them out. The baby has it's been a big priority for sure. I've taken a little bit. I hadn't played drums in about 2 weeks. It's like, delivery! So I might play tomorrow. It's supposed to be kind of warm. Let's see who else. Yeah, Drum Cubes. The coolest thing is I've had on loaner from the fine folks from Reverie Drum Company, based out of Charlotte and Winston-Salem in North Kakalaki, my home turf. That was great for them to. We met up at my work and they dropped off a beautiful 4-piece kit. Been rocking it for month and a half, 2 months maybe. I'm gonna hold on to it until about January. I can actually do it justice. But also looking forward to working with them, having them on the podcast. Gonna go tour the shop. Who else am I forgetting? There's so many things. Simbolt sent over a hi-hat clutch to try out. Really like that. I'm actually think I'm gonna give that away. I'm gonna do a big giveaway, and I think that'd be fun to pass that on. TNR Products sent some stuff to give away. So did a new folder case. Gave away this nice stick bag. Tackle Instruments sent me a new drumstick bag that I love. I love the keychain that goes with it. They sent me this awesome drum keychain, nice and vintagey. My wife even likes it. She's like, "Ooh, that looks nice." I'm like, "It's mine. I play drums, not you." And Who else? Rim Riser sent me over a Rim Riser. It's a thing you add to your snare drum to give that little extra height for when you're doing rim clicks. Aquarian has been nice. They sent me some heads to put on the church kit. I was very thankful for that. On a very somber note, it was very sad that I had was working to have on John Mullins from Mullen Drum Company or Custom Drums. It's hard to keep. There's something like percussion, drum company. Anyways, we had talked, via email and phone about, featuring a drum. He sent out a drum. It was a 13x7. I believe it was maple custom snare drum. It was with white hardware, blue, fit the podcast logo and everything. And had talked to him the day before. I'm like, hey, let's get you on the podcast. I've had a chance to try out this drum, and yeah, let's do it. And sadly, he had passed away the next day in a car wreck, and I wasn't even aware. It was Joe from Ezeri, Percussion had sent me a message, and he said, do you know if they need any help at Mullins fulfilling orders? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh, did you not hear? I'm like, hear what? And he's like, oh, he passed away this weekend. I'm like, what? Are you serious? So, super sad loss in the drumming community. Was really looking forward to working with him. Reached out to his wife. I'm like, hey, if you want the drum back, I don't know what his plan was for the drum. I don't know if he was just letting me feature it, then he was going to sell it or what. And she's like, can I have it back? I'm like, yeah, absolutely, you can have it back. She's like, I want to keep something for my daughters. I'm like, oh, I get it totally. Shout out to, his family. Just, thank you for, allowing me to be part of that, little part of, his life for a little bit. And it's very sad for all of us to hear that he passed away. So, yeah. But, I'm trying to think of who else had sent some stuff. I can't think of anybody offhand. I've been trying all day to write them all down. There's so much stuff, emails and stuff I get, and you kind of, get lost in trying to research it all. Unique Drums. That was one that was also a sponsor this year for a little bit. Yeah, it's been a fun year. Oh, how could I forget? So bad of me. VK Drums, Van from VK Drums, was kind enough. Oh my God, was so kind to give me a custom drum that he made himself. It was a 13 by 6, 3mm brass shell. That sucker weighed a ton. Oh, and it sang. And it was such a blessing because that was right when the computer crapped out, and we were going to try to do a raffle giveaway. We didn't raise enough to really to give it. It wouldn't really helped out with what we were trying to needing to replace the computer. So I sold it and it paid for the computer. So I'm gonna get a little plaque. I'm gonna dedicate this studio, the drum studio shed, whatever I call it, to people like VK and Predator, ANF, Era, 1710 Percussion. Oh, thank you, Mike, for the Christmas card. I meant to put a picture up, but I can't quite find it. It got lost in the shuffle of Christmas. Salt Drums, Ezeri Percussion. Am I forgetting anybody? I don't think that. I think that's everybody. We're kind enough last year to put up drums for the raffle. So I'm gonna try to find somebody who can make me that plaque. I'm gonna put it in. This space is dedicated to them for seeing the potential of this podcast, seeing what it has done for the community, but also what it's done for me as individual, as a drummer, podcaster, all that. It's been such a blessing to continue to do it and to talk to some of my favorite drummers and drummers I've never met, but have been interested in their work. Continuing to be just blown away by the love that we get. I get messages all the time, Instagram. Love what you do. Thanks for posting my video. Sometimes I don't think about it. It's like they're trying to make their name, or they're just trying to prove it to friends or family. I know I have spent a lot of time in my past trying to prove to friends and family that there's something more to me than just being just somebody in the crowd, and when people are like, oh, thanks for posting my video, I showed my parents, or I showed my friends, and they're like, oh, it's so cool, that you got out there. And it's like, if I can just do that, that one little thing to help you get that boost of confidence, or prove to your parents or your significant others or your friends, like, hey, there's someone that likes my drumming, and that's awesome. I love it. I love getting those messages. And what else am I forgetting? Thank you to Z, who helps out with the Fan Fridays. When it gets busy sometimes for me, so she posts videos and I'll post some as well. So it's she helps out on that end, and thank you for her support. And just thank you to you guys, the fans. You guys have been so awesome. Like I said, I love reading your messages. I try to read through all of them. I try to look through all the hashtags. It's there's just only so much time in the day. And I just did the top 9 for the Instagram, and this is what just totally blows me away, is that we received over 1.9 million, I know, likes in 2017 alone. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. That's so crazy. I mean, that is like, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's just like, it's crazy that, and it just continues to grow each day, and I'm so thankful and so humbled and glad to be part of this community. And and it's it's been every day is a fun day of seeing the stuff, seeing the videos, and seeing the reactions. And so for 2018, like I said, the Asheville Percussion Festival, looking forward to that, being putting up a booth possibly, and I want to set up a microphone and try to catch people, like, hey, you got 5 minutes, let's talk about blah blah blah, and talk to the other vendors and all that fun stuff. And I might try to make my way to Nashville to do some interviews, meet some people, maybe take a couple of days and just do a road trip and interview people, maybe do Summer NAMM or something like that. And like I said, to continue to do the podcast, but also I'm gonna start doing some YouTube videos and whatnot. I had an idea of doing my kids watch these things, and I don't get the appeal. It must appeal to a bunch of people. Is people who unwrap products and put them on YouTube and get like all these people subscribing to you to open up just random stuff. So I'm like, I should do that with drums. So that's one of my goals as well. So again, thank you to you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you to all the guests. Thank you to Mason. Thank you to my family for their patience and understanding. Thank you to this shed. I love this shed. It's so just bonkers, mind-blowing. I have a place for all my crap, and I have a place where I can be loud and no one's gonna wake up in the middle of the night because there's a little baby. You gotta be quiet. Not here, and it's starting to get a little cold. It is 20 degrees outside, so I have to keep the fan on, or not the fan. I have to keep my little heater off when I'm recording because you hear that. That was a horrible imitation of a fan. I'm sorry. That was brutal. But yeah, it's been a good year. So again, thank you to everybody. Please, if you can, we're gonna start really cranking up the Patreon so we can start doing more videos and whatnot and all that fun stuff. So if you can, $1 a month, $5, $10, whatever you can, it really helps. And, we're trying to, keep up with the updates. The updates can be expensive. Technology is changing at a rapid pace a lot of times, and sometimes you got to have new stuff to replace the old stuff, and and it all goes back into the show in one form or the other, whether it's paying for the feeds for the podcast, or if it's the update equipment, if it's to I want to start helping out Mason for his work and stuff like that, and just just general expenses that you don't think of doing a podcast and doing all this fun stuff. So if you can think about it, that'd be awesome. But again, thank you. You guys are awesome. Looking forward to 2018. I'm looking forward to all of it. It's gonna be a fun year. Yeah. All right. Well, you guys take it easy. I have not quite figured out how to end this podcast episode. Each one, I'm always struggling with what to say. And I heard something the other day. I was listening to some stand-up, and some comedian, I think it was Pete Holmes, had said something, a saying. I'm like, oh, that's perfect. And I cannot remember it in my life. That is my life story. So anyways, till next time, take it easy. We'll see you guys. Peace out. Word.